Of course you would know that. Well, I looked at the calendar, I have to work, but it also
It
is
might
like
be a great negotiation.
Right, it might be good to have a couple pictures of margaritas there.
Maybe I could. I really did try. Maybe mine was me too.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Try to make sure I don't block the camera.
Just watch.
I just assumed not to.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, right.
On my Sunday reading.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you I had your grandson last hour of the day in my Logan.
I just said from both lungs jumps out, real
Grade,
quick. Put a chair over
3D
it.
printing class, so he's in there. I don't know that he's thrilled about it, but he's in there. That's the last hour of the day.
4 years old, I put him up to my cricket. He rubbed me inside.
Okay.
He's well versed.
He knows how to
It's
do
been
it.
a few years.
Yeah, it's,
I
it just depends on.
It's already. He caught it for us. It's in this room. We got it.
So
And he
that
only
he-
did it a year or two. after
And
he
Logan,
got it.
Logan's probably 14.
We're not releasing, right? He's like,
Yeah. Those kids are so intuitive with computers,
I am not touching
it's
that.
like second nature to them.
Otherwise,
You're right. I asked them for help. A couple of them picked it right up on it.
so he can make me something in that class.
I'm telling you, grandma wants something.
We want, grandma's good.
I think we made Easter eggs today.
Oh, did you?
We
That
got-
was been like late fall. We were in the back in the closed session doing something. So, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, the mom's over there. And I'm like, I said, we were staring at that stuff for the rest of the time. Can you guys hear us okay if we're talking like this?
If you're talking at us.
Oh, you are? That's good, right? Okay. Try it out, then if we can't, let us know. Just
That's better.
like space. I'll call this meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call shows we are missing Dr. Huff and Josh Miller. Number 2, public communication. We have any written correspondence? Okay. Anything from Ovid-Elsie personnel? Any communication from the public that you received? All right. Number 3, interview prep. Loud.
All right, here we are. Good evening. Hopefully you had a lot of time to do a little reading this weekend, so. And hopefully you didn't have to print it all off because there can be a lot of information there. I felt like we had a good candidate pool, larger than 20 applicants. It's really pretty good, so. And it's good to see a mix of some experience in there and some that's newer as well. So it's always nice to have that mix. So we have 3 tasks to do tonight. One is to select questions for the first round of interviews, and I gave you it wasn't just a minute. You should all have it says draft on it, and it's got some coloring on it. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. Want to do that? Then we'll go over a little interview prep and how the interviews will roll next week, and just some reminders for interviewing. And then finally, we'll end the evening with selecting who you want to interview. So that's kind kind of our plan. We start out with doing the questions, because that's usually what people want to do the least. And the last thing we do is what people want to do the most. So, so what we have, when we look at it, we're looking at this sheet, and I'll give you a minute to review it here, stop talking in a couple of minutes, but the first round is 50 minutes for each candidate that we'll give them. They'll all get the same questions. There won't be any follow-ups, and we'll talk about what type of follow-up you could have, but really not any follow-up questions, because we're trying to compare the candidates as they are. I'll talk about that more when we get to that part. So usually in a 50-minute session, we can get about 15 minutes, or 15 questions in that 15 minutes. We will expect that the candidates manage their own time. I'll tell them there you have 15 questions, and I would prefer to give them the questions 24 hours in advance, but we can talk about that when we get done. So 15 is about what they do. So I have a list here of 18 that I've written up, and it just so happens, and actually the first is almost on every, you'll need that, question number 1 is always question number 1, and question number 15, or in this page is 18, will always be there. So I'll give you a couple minutes to read through these, and then I want to tell you what I have. In my opinion, where I have like 2 and 3 are in yellow, those are similar questions on the same thing, so I'm thinking you may want to drop one of those. Same way with the ones that are printed in red, those are similar, asked a different way, and 2 that are printed in blue. So I'm just trying to help you out a little bit. We can tweak questions. You can say, I don't like that question at all, that sort of thing, because I do somewhere here have a stack of about 75 other questions I could throw in if we had to. So, but these are usually, you really need something to help you. You try to get a little bit of something on many of the areas that we're going to talk about in the survey and that sort of thing. So I'll stop talking. I'll give you about 3 minutes to read through that, kind of look it over, and then we'll go from there. part of that little practice is to be okay with silence. Because that's one of the things we talk about in the interviews. Don't break the silence. If you get someplace and they don't say anything, people get jittery and they feel like they have to say something, but they can't say it. So, I think maybe the first thing we could do is, well, I should say, are there any that any of you would like to talk about to just throw out completely before we get to choosing between the two?
My opinion is 3, 4, and 13. I could see go and replace them with maybe some other questions. Because they're similar.
I think we were cutting them back, those two were similar. The two
One
Yeah.
of the yellow, one of the red, and one of the
Yeah.
blue. Okay, okay, gotcha, would be, okay. Sorry, my math is. I want to keep 3, 5, and 13. Those are the ones I felt. I felt like they were similar, but those ones didn't give part of the answer to the candidate. Like, when you compare number 2 and number 3, we're asking, but we're giving some examples of what you would do in number 2, but you don't in number 3. Like, I don't have to come up with those concepts. I feel the same way in 4 and 5. They gave examples of how you would do that, but if you ask at 5, it's more general. They have to come up with those.
Could you please repeat again what you said earlier about the ones that were marked blue? I didn't
The ones ones that are marked in similar colors, those two questions are very similar.
Similar,
They're
okay.
they're just asking a different way.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest, I went back and forth on, they're asking kind of the same thing.
I see that too.
Myself.
Okay, yeah.
So I picked 3, 4, and 13
To keep or get
to
rid of.
keep. I picked 2, 5, and 13.
We're keeping 13.
13's a keeper.
So 13 keeper.
Oh, I don't know, I was just saying out loud, that's how it sounded.
I think everyone is said.
Everyone except Kevin, do you have an opinion on
And the blue one?
12 or 13, which one do you want to keep?
Either way, really, yes. That's why I like 12. I like 16 also.
No, we're keeping all the
keeping
white ones.
16.
You keep
You have to
going.
pick one
Okay.
yellow, one red,
Okay.
one blue.
So we're going to total 12 out.
And then how many do we have for 2 and 3? I voted 2. What'd you say?
I said 3.
3.
You said 2, Sue?
2. 2 it is.
For
just-
for the same reason.
Oh,
No, so
Oh,
wait for the other.
yeah.
Hard time voting.
Okay.
So,
We want to keep 2, I guess, that's the consensus.
2. All right.
And then the red, I said keep 5.
Kevin's a typer. No,
No.
that's only 3.
No.
What's that? There's only 3 lists.
3 to 1. It's 3 to 1 right now. So it doesn't matter what Kevin votes.
We're just making it easy on
run
you.
with it.
Okay.
It's all
They
good.
are similar, I mean, they're so similar.
It's all good.
So 5 we're keeping?
Yes.
All right.
And then on number 8, is there, can we add retain? How do you recruit, retain, develop? Just putting the word retain.
Yes.
That's a good suggestion.
Okay, some are designed to be a little more general, and when you get to your finalists, you may drill down more. For example, you said this in your last interview, what did you mean by how you develop money or something like that, so. These are a little more general than to start out with, so. Is there anything, any others that you would like me to, work about?
I know in my notes that I have a question about students first and what that means.
that verbiage, but I don't know, if it's a good idea to put that in there or not, because it's our,
I think so because a lot of their letters, like mention how that was passion for them to come here, so tell us what it means.
yeah, like, what is it?
We just write it down.
Like, so I don't know, I mean,
Or what-
maybe it can fit into the verbiage of one of these. I just, when I think about our mission and vision, like, what does that mean to them?
You could put in the first question, tell us how your background and experience make you a good fit for our next superintendent with leading our district. Like, just put our motto in there as key first to relate to the.
Or like you said, we're giving general questions, and that would be one
For
for
the
next
next
time.
time?
Because I liked your question that you edited too, and I wanted to read on that, but if you're saying we're just general, then
Yes.
we can go deeper next time.
Like, yeah, maybe that's good for
Just keep that.
a little more, yeah.
What I can do, I can look at these and see if there's some place I can fit in asking, kind of, with the question about students. Students first type of thing. Because what I will do is, I will rewrite, I'll take some out here, I'll try to find a spot to put the question about adding it with one of the student ones, or with all the questions here. And then I'll try to get that done by tomorrow, and I'll email it all out to you. And then, if I can get a response back by Wednesday that everybody's good with it, because I need to send this to the office, and then someone will type up interview guides for us. There'll be I'll assign questions for each of you, so you know which ones you're going to read. And I'll send them back to you before the interviews on Tuesday, so you've got a chance to look them over and practice them. It sounds funny, but it's just like, back in the day, we used to have the Pledge of Allegiance printed out for our student that you greeted every morning, because sometimes you get there and it's like, you just get flustered. So it's good to have right in front of you. So I will make sure I get it to you, and then make sure we're all good with that. I'm just gonna have a thumbs up. That work?
Sounds great.
All right. That was easy, I think. Okay, so you should have this PowerPoint in front of you. And I'm going to turn this on, hopefully I can do it correctly. And so we want to prep for what's going to happen here. And really, what's the purpose of the interview? We want to learn, it's just one, so we want to learn about the candidates. We want to find out how they conduct themselves in a public setting. And you need to remember, keep this in mind, that some people that will come in, they're practice interviewers. I mean, they interviewed a lot. I don't know if I can say all this. There's a couple on the list that I know they've interviewed often. So, just keep that in mind.
Is there anything we should look for when that happens? Is that a bad thing?
No, it's not a bad thing. I just want you to know that interview is just one piece of it. We're gonna have a lot, we'll talk about a little bit later. You've got the information now. We're gonna have an interview. When you'll ask questions, we will, between now and even next week, I'm sure you'll find out more about the people that are gonna be interviewed. Because you will, once it gets announced, who it is, you may or may not receive phone calls. Because they're usually, the education world's small, and everybody knows everybody. So there's a chance that you will get a call. If you get anything that you're concerned about, let me know right away and I can look into it. Because sometimes you get things that's not even true. It's amazing how the rumor will get you wrong. So keep that in mind. And you want to, like I said, here's the beyond the first interview. We'll check their references, fact checking. Second interviews, your other research. Again, as I said, it's only one piece of the whole puzzle. From the interview, so the first interview. So make sure you review the interview guide in advance. I'll have hard copies here for you to write on for each candidate. You put your name on it. When we're all done, I'll collect those and have them shredded because they are FOIA notes. So make certain when we're done, I have it. I'll take care of it. So we don't want to hang, unless you want somebody to see your notes. Give some thought to as to what indicators you will be looking for with each question. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. And again, know your question and practice it. You don't want to be looking like you just opened them up that evening. So when you get the interview guides, it'll have your name right next to it. President Bully, you have the first one. So I'll have some extra. You're going to be running the interview, so I'll have some extra.
I thought that's what your job was. Okay.
I'll be here, but essentially it's
Okay.
your show, okay?
And they'll have the questions in front of them? And we'll still ask it, or?
Yes, we can do that.
Oh,
We'll talk
that's
about that
great.
whole thing, yes. I highly recommend, if we don't give them to them 24 hours in advance, I highly recommend we have a copy for them right here. Because, for example, this isn't so bad, but sometimes you get a situation, like I interviewed at Clinton County Resa one time, and the room was rather quite large, and even though they're mic'd up, it was not a real good sound system. I was quite a ways away, and it was nice to have the question sheet in front of me, because some of the board members talked very, very low, and I had a hard time hearing what they were saying. So we'll definitely have one here in front of them. We should go with the same setup, probably about like this, and have the audience kind of on the side over there, because they're going to want to be hearing it as well. We may want to use the mics. That'll probably be a good idea. Can I go to the previous one?
Just saying, that's.
Yeah. So you want to be careful and listen for, kind of some real general answers. They really they just kind of, like this is the thing to say in education type of thing. You want to see what answers, what are they when they lack substance or any evidence. So we're going to talk about what type of questions that we picked out here in just a little bit. When I say don't support cultural noise, we're going to talk about your body language during the interview. This first round, we're not going to redirect. We won't ask follow-up questions, I should say. We're going to redirect, but not follow-up questions. So if they answer something that seems too general, then just come back with it and say, you want a little more specific, say, okay, that's, there's an example. That's interesting, but can you give me a specific time when you had to develop a budget? That sort of thing. So you want to look for specifics. And again, we'll talk about that. Just one of these slides come up. Your listening is part of it. For them it's good, and for you as well. So you want to, normal conversation. Don't look like you're falling asleep. They may be boring, but try to stay. Again, don't be overly supportive, and this is weird, because like, listen and you wanna like, you know, acknowledge what they're saying, but don't be too supportive, because then they might roll with that, and they might get the wrong impression from it, so it's kind of weird if we put that up there, but you just kind of gotta keep that in mind. Please have an open mind. That's important. Always have an open mind, listen objectively. Again, don't rush to break the silence. It's sometimes telling that they're not prepared, or, and then be careful to validate the candidate's answer. So, you know, oh yeah, that's really good. Just more, well, thank you, appreciate it, you know, or something like that. We don't want to leave them on too much. Good eye contact. Take your notes. I get paper, but remember they can be FOIA, so that's why I'll collect them at the end. It's best if you don't have them in your possession. So we want to listen for facts and actual events. So we call this the STAR method. All the questions that we've kind of set up, most of them, are set up so they can talk about behaviors they've done in the past. Because usually what you do in the past is going to dictate what you're going to do in the future. In this round, we're not looking to say, well, this is what you've always done, but you're going to do something else when you come to Ovid-Elsie. That usually doesn't happen. Okay? So we call it the STAR method because they should talk about a situation or task that they've had. What action did they take? So, for example, if I'm looking at, quick one to talk about. How do you recruit and retain, develop, organize, and lead the management team? Give us an example of how you've done it best. So, their situation or task is how they develop it. So, what actions did they take? And look for specific things that they did. And then what were the results? Okay, so I had this task to lead this team and develop them. This is what I did, and this is what happened. And I'm trying to remember the question sheets. It's basically the questions at the top, and then it's a blank sheet, and there'll be some hints there of what you can be looking for in those questions. So we'll say situation or task or that sort of thing. And finally, when the interview's done, make sure you take notes and kind of wrap it up. We'll have about usually 10 minutes between interviews. You know, walk around, get a drink, have a snack. We can talk about that. Use the restroom. Please, though, when you get up, don't go as a group into a back room or any side rooms together. This is to be a public process. You don't want it. There can't be 3, 4 of you, you know, mingling together because people, whether you're talking about the interviews or not, that's the perception that people will have. So just keep that in mind. So our first goal, the goal in the first round is to create like circumstances and compare candidates. So that's why we're following this group. We want to give the same situations. What do they do? Take notes on that because at the end of each interview, or I should say at the end of each evening of interviews, I'll ask you for each candidate, what did you like about that candidate? And we'll talk about it as a group. And then what questions do you have about each candidate? Because that's going to help us if that candidate gets to the finals. That'll help us develop questions for the finals. Because I'm still, you may have some questions about something to say. So we want to keep the things the same. The second round, we may have, most of the questions will be the same, but they may have said something in the first round that you want to dig deeper into, you want to get to know them a little more, and it may be slightly different questions. A couple of questions will be different. The second round, that's your opportunity also to ask follow-up questions. Okay, so they said something, the second round becomes a little more of a conversation. It's still, you're still questioning them, I'll still give you interview guides, but they may ask you something in the midst of a question that they're answering, and you may have a follow-up that you want to ask. So, second round, we're getting to know, as it says here, we want to find out what are their strengths. As you're trying to figure out strengths, weaknesses, potential fit, because every district's a little bit different. You know your district more than anybody else, so certainly more than I do. So there may be something that comes during the interview process that, wait, I'd like to know this about this person. That's going to happen in the second round. Remember, the audience will also be able to write down questions. They will be asked them, I'll just write them down. I'll collect them about 15 minutes to go to the interview and hand them to President Woolley, and you can ask them.
Do we get feedback from the audience only in the second interview? I remember you saying that afterwards it would be stuff that we can read. Is it the first and the second, or just the second?
You get feedback in both interviews. The questions are only come in the second interview.
Okay.
So we're keeping everything the same for the first.
How will that feedback look from the community?
I'll have basically just a form I have where they write down the candidate's name, and I can't remember, I think the watch the drama with me. I think they can sign it or not sign it. And then the people can just write down their thoughts on that candidate's interview. And so as soon as it's over with, we'll have copies made. I hope there's a copy post box somewhere probably. We get copies made and give those all to you the same night as interviews. And the second night, we hope to, we'll do the same deliberations. You'll have time to, look over all of the feedback forms, and then our plan would be to choose two to go on to the finals next Wednesday night. 23rd? I should know that exact jury to do that.
Mark, you said that you were collecting our notes after the first round.
I'll do it when the whole process is over.
Okay, but we don't get to take our notes home for the second?
Yes, you will. I don't want them until the very end.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I can collect the ones that you're not bringing back for a second round, but yeah, I will collect them all until
Okay, yeah, thanks for
I was thinking,
Yeah.
so great questions.
Once you select the finalists, I'll take the ones that didn't make the finals and keep those until the process is over.
Will we have a copy of the questions? Will we have one copy or a copy for each candidate that we can?
You'll have a copy for each candidate.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll get 6 sets of questions if we end up choosing 6 to be interviewed in the first round. And so you have separate for each. Just as a reminder again, we want the consultants to manage their own time. So I usually will sit off somewhere to the side, and I'll kind of let them know, I'm gonna let them know that there's a clock right over their shoulder right there. I may bring in my little clock, put on the table, but they wouldn't see right there. And I'll let them know I might, somewhere, just I don't give them a 5 sign, and I'll do the same thing with just so you know. Keep it moving. Because part of it is managing their time. Which kind of brings me to the question, and I'll send you some more pointers to get them. Actually, it's almost printed out word for word, and you don't have to read it word for word, but you can, just how you welcome them, that sort of thing. What was I going to say? So,
leads to the next question.
Yes, the next question is, do you want them to have the questions in advance?
Yes.
24 hours, so it gives them,
24 hours in advance, so like, Tuesday's candidates, I would give, like, I don't know, 4 o'clock the day before, I'll send them questions. And then Wednesdays, I will do the same thing, only on Tuesday. It's, I kind of look at this like this, we're not doing a surprise test. You want the person that's gonna be a fit here. And you'd be surprised, everybody does it a little bit differently, of the ones that I've had, people that have, I tell them, you need to manage your own time. You're gonna get 50 minutes. I explain, 3 minutes per question approximately. So just keep that in mind. And there will be some people that they will not get through 10 questions. If they have 15, they just won't do it. And that's kind of telling us like, okay, if we're trying to run an efficient meeting, yeah, you want information, but it's kind of telling you, are we ever going to get done here type of thing? And the same way, some people won't prepare. It amazes me that they just come in off the cuff and you get a lot of, well, let me think about, they shouldn't have to think about, we don't want to spend the time listening and say, or, hey, let me think about a time when I had to deal with engaging a community forum or something like that. So it just makes it go smooth. And it tells you a lot there as well. So, all right, I'll plan on giving them the questions, 24 hours in advance.
Will they wait in here, or they wait outside?
No. What we usually do, as I was talking with Crystal about this earlier, we could have someone probably, particularly since we're going to be in here and it's kind of in the middle of the building, we'll have them report to the doors by the high school office. It's just going to be easy to say, go to the high school office, and have someone there to greet them when they come in. Whether it's, I've had students do it, I've had other, employees in the district, so whichever works out. And then we kind of put them in a holding room close by. And then after, between interviews, I'll go in and talk to them for a minute and remind them, minutes, manage your time, clock's back here. And then I'll bring them in and introduce them once they get here, and then turn it over to you. They may or may not, it's always interesting to watch how many will come over and shake each person's hand and introduce themselves. Sometimes they just come in and sit down. So you never know. It's always interesting. Does that answer your question? I'm one of those guys that I would have married my son.
Becky's question.
Oh,
I got a quick question.
I'm like, wait, can I
Kind
ask
of
a
a
question?
combination that you were saying, that, being time management or whatever, and answering the questions and getting through them, but you kind of mentioned something earlier on, that sometimes we might have a person that's maybe a little more polished, or interviews a lot, is what you said. I guess, does that discredit that person? Does that mean that that person's less interested? I just,
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
It just, some people are more comfortable in the public setting.
Yeah.
It's very nerve-wracking. It's a different,
Stressful seat to sit in.
and I don't know, I'm gonna be honest with you, I've done it, after, when I interviewed at St. John's after being there for 18 years, and I had a standing room only interview room. In some ways I felt, that was real, it's like, all these people know me, I can't screw up here. It made me more, my first one, my board member told me, it's like, yeah, you weren't my choice there, the first one. Well, I didn't really think you cared for me to start with. That's fine. We became very good. loosened up in my second round. And, I've also, when I was at Clinton recent, I interviewed there, and, there were 20 people there, and I was nervous for a different reason, because they didn't know me. And so, it's just kind of, and that was it on that part. Any questions so far? Okay. So, you had a little reading to do this weekend. Get my computer fired up here. And remember that everything's confidential for now. So you all will just get to hear numbers. We won't make it public until the person is accepted in an interview. And my plan would be that when we get done here this evening, before I leave the parking lot, I will call everyone that's selected for an interview and make sure that they accept, and then I have an email all ready to go for scheduling them, and so I'll schedule it for whoever is selected, and then I'll send a press release to you tomorrow, or maybe even tonight. I'd wait till they all schedule theirs, because what I do is I send out a format, so whoever reads your email first, I guess, is first choice. It's kind of like Signer Genius, only it's through our system here.
So a quick question before we start. If we pick our 6, let's say we have 2 that decline an interview, are we going back to pick our 7th and 8th, or are we just leaving it at 4?
I think it's better if you just leave it at 4. Because usually, and we'll see what happens, but usually, once we get past the 6, there's not going to be someone on the list that is gaining more, in this case, 3 votes. And when you have less than half of the group wants to, then why we're not getting courtesy interviews. This is for the top leadership position in your district, and I had that happen, and it wasn't a good situation. So we're going to go with what you and I'm not going to. If it turns out sometimes we only have a solid 4 or 5. So I won't force you to bring it in. If half of you have no desire to see someone, then there's no sense in bringing somebody in. So, does that make sense? All right, so I'm just going to go down the list, and when I say list, I'm going to go around each of you and ask you by number the top 6 or 8 numbers that you would like to see. Okay, you can be 6 or 8, doesn't really matter. Or if you have less than 6, you have less than 6.
None in particular order, do we?
Not in particular order, just 6 that you would like to see, 6 or 8, and we'll see where that lands us. So, Mr. Nash.
42. 71.
71.
86.
6.
74. 95. 36. 42, 42.
71,
71.
86,
86.
74,
74.
95,
95.
36.
36.
All right. Okay. Ms. Thompson.
42, 16, 71, 86, 9, 36.
42, 16, 71, 86, 9, and 36.
Yeah, can I throw out, or excuse me, add a 74? Kevin needs to change something.
Go ahead, Fred.
I'm kidding.
Let me double check, make sure that I get it right.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
42, 71, 103, 86, 9, 36, and 74.
Forty-two, 71, 103, 86, 9, 74, and 36. Right.
71, 103, 86, 16, 95, and 32.
So 16, 32, 71, 103, 86, and 95.
Yes.
$42, 16, 71, 103, 9, 74, and 36.
Forty-two, 16, 71, 103, 9, 74, and 36.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Manager, do you want to-
I'd like to trade 86, and I'd like to add 16.
86 and 86?
80, yeah. You already had 16.
I have.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I did that, wrong. I have on the wrong one, I apologize. So,
I would like to add 16,
at 16,
and you can pull 86.
46. Okay, Ms. Stamps, I want to make sure I have these right, because I.
Yep.
42, 16, 71, 86, 9, 74, and 36. Mr. Nash, 42, 16, 71, 74, 95, and 36.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So, looking, there are, 71 has 5 votes. There are 5 of you. So I think that person's in. Does that sound good? Then if I look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 with 4 votes, 4 of the 5. So, 2, 3, that'd be 42, 16, 74, and 36. Four of the 5, so each one of them, 4 out of 5, you chose no's. Would we, good to keep with those.
Nick, will you say their numbers again, just so I got this right?
42, 16, 74, and 36.
Can we argue against one or share why? Okay. I mean, I didn't pick all of those, but 36, I really strongly did not care for. The letter of intent, the last paragraph specifically shared that, you know, they realize that sometimes they have to do the right thing for children. It might be a hindrance to relationships with other people. Use the words, gosh, what are we in here? Litigation, that it has resulted in possible litigation. Like it voiced things that if you had to tell us that up front and that you've been involved in that, when we have so many other qualified people, I just felt like that was like a eye-opener. That's my feeling. Because if you're trying to put your best foot forward and say, hey, like, choose me because of these things, but then you can say, I don't know, do you have that?
Oh, I didn't know, I don't know if we're.
Kind of read parts of it and not voicing anybody's.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So just where it said that the person's experience out of state taught them that doing the right thing for children can hinder their career and hurt their reputation through litigation and the media, which neither of those things we want to draw here. Nonetheless, I'll do what's best for children, and I've never lost a lawsuit or even written up for anything negative in my years. I don't feel like you're putting your best foot forward. You're warning us in a way that no one else did, and so, I mean, for me, that's the one that's a sticking, like, I wrote, no. I know, I'm the only one who didn't pick that, but that's why.
Can we circle around and see what our sixth pick was?
Yeah, we have,
Before we,
if you, right now, well, let's talk about, would we be okay that, there are 3 other folders.
but what is, how many, 3 votes did we have?
There are 1, 2, 3 votes.
And what numbers were those?
103, 86, and 9.
I'd like to advocate really for taking them out, because 103 and 86 were 2 of the strongest ones I felt were on this list. So to know that there's someone else, I guess they had 4, but those weren't, I don't know, those warning words are there.
I am very comfortable with 86 being replaced with 36. If that's just my opinion.
Wait a minute, actually, so choose 86 instead of 36.
Yes, if we're just strictly going by like what our votes were.
You don't have a, so you already had 86.
Yes, those are the 3 votes. You did our
Right.
our top
Right.
6 candidates
Right.
by votes.
So you're saying you're okay with
I'm
adding
okay with-
36?
I am okay with eliminating 36 to replace it with one of the 2 of the 3 votes. But everybody, I mean, we have to, you guys would have to decide that.
I very much agree, that was a very strong candidate.
I feel like 86 wasn't in any position for longer than maybe 3 years.
I would agree.
That was my struggle with that one. 36, they have worked in a neighboring district. And I, in my previous position, didn't work with them, but observed them from afar. And they did lead that district to increased enrollment. A lot of in that county, people were school of choicing their that's not a verb, sending their kids there by school of choice because it was a desirable district. And I was struck by those comments at the end also, but I think understanding what that litigation was may be important for us, and I don't know how much research we can do in advance, but I think, you know, when you hire and fire people in a position, you can be accused of anything, right? And you have to defend yourself. So it doesn't necessarily mean you were in the wrong, and he says, I never lost, but when you manage people and you're subject to those, you know, circumstances where you have to dismiss, I think that's probably where some of that comes from.
I recall the positivity when that person was around prior.
Yeah.
Yes, but I still feel like, and I don't know how long that person's not worked in the state, but.
Ironically, they're both from out of state right now, right?
The one was in Michigan, 86.
36 and 86.
86 is in Michigan. Well, let's go,
Oh, yeah.
let's go back to, we'll circle back. 42 has 4 votes. Is that? Because right now we have 1 with 5 and 3 with 4. So let's see if we have, you want to bring more than 1 in, I'm assuming.
Are we talking about 42?
42.
Oh, I'm good with that one.
I'm also good.
Me too.
That was not one of my favorites, only because they only had preschool through 4th grade experience as an admin, and I feel that middle school, high school is a big only there, but I'm only one, so.
So we see what we think of 42.
Yes.
16 had 4 as well.
Who didn't vote for 16?
I did.
Actually,
Do you
maybe
remember the reason why you didn't? This is a lot to look over, I can recall. I think that I just, things that other people that I liked more, and I think it's specifically written.
This one, there, 16 has been an elementary principal for 12 years, assistant superintendent, director of curriculum for 6, a lot of community involvement, has an EDD, EDS, master's, out of the college. And there's another intent really direct.
Yeah, I think 16 also said that was ready to relocate.
I would say, the way we look at it, we can go through all these all night long, but I would say anybody in the board you should probably look at, we were talking about like 36 about more here. But,
Well, yeah.
that is from there, we're gonna put a 3, so. The other one that had 4, we haven't talked about 74. That one has anybody opposed to, strongly opposed to not putting that person from the other reason?
She was not high on my list, and I added her as my seventh. But yes, looking over 74, there was a lot of, for me, it stood out enough for me to come back, circle back around and say 74. I'm good with it.
So,
I'm good with that.
okay, so we have 4 now without 36. Research that can be done, I mean, you can Google it and find out about the lawsuits. What I learned a bit, kind of got sideways with the board for whatever reason, in his last stop. It's a big, that was a big district that takes up the whole county, so I, for whatever that's worth. You can Google it to get more information, but, you know, that's what I have for right now, just not gonna get, probably not gonna get a whole lot more, but that's the information I had is, I don't know if you would, if the person went in and just kind of told you need to clean the house or whatever it was, I have no idea.
But you felt strong enough to place it.
I did because I looked at, having experience as superintendent, and that was kind of some of the criteria, and having done it before, that's why I put it in the top. There wasn't anything, I did do a double take when I read that last paragraph, because it's like, I don't know if I would put it quite that way, but. Yeah.
Also, maybe they were just being upfront.
That's what I was thinking, like, I don't, it's hard to tell what somebody's intent is.
And they had longevity at that. It was not 2 or 3 years, it was, yes.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at how many years of that last stop. So, it's up to you, I mean, 4 or 5, you want to take a look at them. Those employees express their concerns, is that enough for you at least want to take a look and, you know, see what happens, or if she convinces you that it's like, you know, we don't want to go down that road?
Who suggested 9? You had 9 on the list.
I did.
I'm just still struggling, I know that, like, I can't pick the perfect people out either, but also we need someone in education, like, only one of my top 3 made it, so like our next 3, like, there's 2 of them are sitting there, so that's why when I really struggle with 36, the other 2 are sitting there.
What are your top 3?
And I do,
71, but then 103 and 86, I felt that those were the strongest of all of them, as someone in education, looking at all the experiences.
yeah, I have.
So I'm having a hard time saying yes to 36 when I already felt not good about it, and then the other 2 were sitting there.
Only one of my top 3 made it too.
I almost caught them. What?
Leave
The
it alone.
person's name. I think Brooke has a really valid point, this is hard to not say the name.
I know.
A really valid point about number 42, and only the K through 6 experience.
Only, well, yeah, teacher and that, but yeah, only K preschool through 4th as admin.
As admin.
So we've got no like middle school, high school. I feel like as someone who's only been in early out, like there's no way I could do the job of a superintendent because I've never experienced that and I can't speak to that world. So to leave that world is limiting.
Right, and I feel like it's hard. work.
Well, on the other hand, if you only have middle school and high school principal experience, I think it's hard to direct a principal with a K through fifth, is it, or K through sixth?
It could be any, yes, but I'm just
Yes.
saying this person doesn't have any.
I have to walk over again.
I'm gonna resend my vote for 42.
So you're taking your vote for 42 off?
Yes, please.
Are we difficult or is this typical? You can be honest,
Yes,
I'm
be
just
honest.
curious.
It's,
Not the normal.
It is.
no, it's not atypical.
Okay.
I mean, it's,
Well, I
Prob-
didn't hear the other person's thought about why they did or didn't choose
Right.
something I might not have thought about.
I hate to be stuck on it, I just
No,
feel like this is our
no,
job.
I
so
feel
like
like
this
your
is my
educational
don't.
experience, so.
I really liked 86, but then when I got to her work history, it was 2, 3, 2. Like, it was just a rapid fire turnover. I don't know.
But they were all different, it's like she's growing, or he or she, I don't even know.
But I feel like the,
Well, it's not about what he or she,
but
I
do
know.
you learn enough to master a situation in 2 to 3 years to move forward with that growth also?
But when you've done all those things too, you can put them together. I think that was also, that number 86 was the one that our names on the letter, that like you took the
Yeah.
time to put every single one of our names on that letter. The letter of interest I wrote that I loved it, it was very personal. Not just like, I don't know if you guys noticed, we had one in there that was labeled, they saved, probably because they put it in the queue. They saved it as a different district's letter, so the title up at the top was not OE, and Ovid-Elsie was never mentioned in it at all. So to see somebody else's who was so, yeah, maybe they're a really seasoned, writer for letter of interest, but it was very personal, and they put our names, I mean, that sounds silly, but no one else took the time to do that. On top of all those different roles. And education.
so. We're never going to get, I mean, they're not gonna have everything that you want, anything. So, I mean, like 42 now has 3 votes. I had the person coming in. I guess we really, what I'm seeing right now is we really have 16, 71, and 74, where it sounds like everybody agrees you should bring in.
Yes, I agree.
So, I guess what I'm looking at is the rest of them, we're saying, we're not gonna get, probably gonna get to, we're not gonna get to 5, we're probably not gonna get to 3. So, I mean, I'm looking at it, I guess I really wanna know about 36. Okay, do you want that person in or not? If you bring them in, doesn't mean you're hiring them, I mean, you bring them in. Maybe that person will be able to explain more and you might learn more. Because we could do this, that's the one that definitely jumps up. Now, you can kind of do this, well, this one doesn't have a certain level of experience, so that's where, there's not any left they're gonna have with the experience at every single level, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
How many votes did you have for 95?
95 has 2 votes.
Well, we have 3 set.
And we're looking to have 6.
That would be ideal. You really
people that are more qualified, I don't know.
I'll take my vote from 36 and give it to 86. I don't know what
Doesn't make it- Yeah, then it just puts it.
Well, what's that person?
Can we just, I don't know, are you guys okay if we throw 36 off and get 4 and 5 set, and then circle around to see what's left? And-
Yes. Yeah, that's why I said I'm back up to 86 now. I mean, Brooke,
86 would have 4.
yeah, and Brooke is right. Even though the positions were short, like 3 years, it was a continuous path upward. So, ultimately to a superintendent role. So, I mean, I think that it shows initiative, obviously.
Who are you talking about?
86.
86.
Did you have 86?
Yes,
Did you
because
have
I was
86?
just reading, there's, anyway, I don't know what ones are.
And they do have central office in state of Michigan, K through 12.
I'm good with 86.
I'm good with 86 also.
I'm not interested.
You're not interested? Well, you're sort of out.
I understand. That's fine, that's fine.
We're all looking at you.
I know.
So we're not gonna get
No,
to 5 on every
Right,
single
I get
one.
it.
So,
so 86,
71, 16, 74, 86.
so we have 2 more to navigate.
The 103 and 9 both have 3 votes.
Yes.
what did we, I may have missed a number here. I have to mark by it. This one. 42, did we decide that was coming in?
Well, we had one just declined, that goes down to 3, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we could still, we could still
Okay.
use it as number 5.
All right, yeah, that's okay, I thought I had.
So what numbers
Yeah,
are you
so right now I have 16, 71, 86, and 74 in the mix
Correct.
to be interviewed. So I just want to make certain there are 3 on 42. And that 3 we don't think we want to bring in. 103 is the next one with 3.
And 9,
103 and 9 are the 2.
I'm in favor of 9.
Did you notice on 9, it had no listed teaching experience? I'm not saying they didn't have it, but that was one thing I noticed, that their whole emphasis was the admin side. So I don't actually know what experience they have, but there was no listed teaching experience, and I think that's a big deal. I feel like in our community things, they said that they wanted someone who'd been.
Right, and I'm thinking that that person does have teaching experience. Sometimes they don't, they put, the last 3 positions, for example.
Right, because he has high school principal, assistant, superintendent, 2 assistant superintendent positions.
when, I just thought because of, with our, survey, there's nothing on there that shows that.
This is teacher certification
Yes.
from Western, but you're right.
There's nothing.
I'm pretty certain that it has.
So it would have been about 10 years. from, so.
So, number 9, what is the next student have? You were concerned he didn't have teaching experience? He didn't have
He
listed?
wasn't one of my strongest, that was just one of the things I noticed, that there was no teaching.
Where do you have it, 103?
103, I was just gonna come back to that. You didn't have that one, Mr. Nash,
Right.
and,
I didn't have.
correct.
So meaning you got 3 on it, right?
I've got 3, yeah, so I don't know if there's a strong reason not to,
Well, I don't know why, I have a note, and I look at my notes for him, and I don't see why I have a note. But, is it possible I could look through?
Yeah, here, I got this thing.
Because on there, the person had a doctorate
That
and
you're
an
looking at.
ES and a master's. They had been a director of grants and academic innovation. They had a lot of additional skills. They were an assistant superintendent of HR, assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction, assistant high school principal. They've been a coach. They had a lot of, one of the things that stuck out at the end was the testimonials that they had from different people who worked with them, like parents and principals. They had some things to say about them.
And of the testimonials that came via, like a text.
No, they're at the end of the resume.
A letter,
Oh, did I didn't see.
yeah,
It
there
was,
was,
yeah, no.
try to think through our best to get through this. It's
I would
usually a little, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead and vote. Put me on for number
So we're really trying to do one.
103.
103,
well, I voted.
all right, 103 is in. Yeah, this is, usually you don't run into this because we would have 7 and it'd be a little more obvious.
Right.
It's unfortunate we don't have that, but
So you're at
Well,
4
and
with
some
103?
chose some candidate and says candidate,
Yes.
so that put 2 more.
so we have 1, I have 16, 71, 86, and 74. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you want a 6? And really, I guess it comes back to talking about 36, or the
I
other
think-
one that has 3 is 9.
If we went between 36, 42, and 9, I would like 9.
I didn't hear you say 103.
103.
103 is in this.
Okay, I just checked, sorry.
Yep. So we're down to really, that's right, 42, 9, and 36.
I'm still, 42. And even though that she, or he might have, I don't know, I'm sorry, I was gonna slip up. the lack of experience of high school, I don't necessarily think that's a horrible thing. What I did like was they had a lot, they cleaned up it sounds like a big HR mess in a very short time at that district. Was able to get things done in really a timely manner, setting up procedures.
You can, again, if,
They have negotiation contracts, HR policies.
They've been in that job for a year.
Yes.
So this is an important position.
Yes.
And there's an error under education. It says they're anticipating central office certificate 2024. And that's probably small, but
Thank you for pointing that out.
I know, I didn't, or I picked that one, but one thing I found down was, there was only 2 candidates that said you may not contact their previous employer, and that kind of stuck out to me.
Well, especially a lot of their, that appears, like the superintendent is one of the references. And
Yeah,
the HR director. is
superintendent,
one of the-
HR, yeah,
And
it's
principal, so all these people, yeah, they can't contact, so you get contacted after.
And that's just something I wrote on the sheet, on just 2 candidates said that you may contact their.
I advocate for number 9 of the 3.
So, back to number 42, it looks like their teaching experience started here.
With what number?
42, I just saw that.
that is true.
So I wonder if they have family around this area or something.
Talk with that person and that's certain that person does.
I just relate to the number of years of experience in that younger educational mode. Personally, I'm just thinking if I would have to see how this 2 Bs would have very similar-ish.
How do we feel, us members here, if the candidate did not have superintendent experience? Is that sort of, we're all open to that? Or
We kind of are, because we
Yeah.
didn't pick up all people that have it. If we can't settle between us, do we just stay with 5?
I voted for number 9. But if we're gonna just stick to 5, I would like to, just see what 36 has to say.
That would be adding a 6.
We're already at 5.
Oh, yes, if we're like, okay, so we're doing 9?
No, we haven't picked a 6. It was between 36, 42, and 9.
Okay.
I picked those already, so
And
that's why I'm.
So I did
I'm
9
okay.
before, but I would pick 9 now.
I'm okay with, no to 42 after our discussion.
So then it's.
Would be 9 and 36.
So if I pick 9, doesn't that make 4?
What's that?
I didn't pick 9 originally.
You'd have to do it on your.
It does make 4, yeah.
Okay.
I like 9, and they have pretty good experience. So I
Get
picked
you to
9.
do one more.
9, you picked
Uh,
9.
9 was, if we want to go with 9, then it gives us 6.
But that would give 3 votes.
If you got a trade, I'll trade 42 for 9. If you gotta have,
I mean, I don't have to have anything, I have to, I mean,
well, I'm good with interviewing that candidate.
Our
okay.
goal is
I mean,
to, I like 9.
Okay.
I like 6, whatever you recommend.
6 candidates, not 9.
I mean.
6,
Yeah, don't discuss. Not another number, hold on.
Yeah, no,
Six
that's-
candidates.
Where's 6 at?
okay, here's what we have. 16, 71, 103, 86, 9, and 74.
Yes.
We feel like we can live with that?
I'm good with that.
I am too. I think we moved through those all pretty well.
Yeah, it's not easy, like I said, again, if you have all 7, it's usually, you can get usually at least 5 to go with almost, the strong candidates, and it's a little hard with this number, that's okay. So, I will call these when we're done here, confirm them. Hopefully they will all accept. And then my plan is to get you question sets to review, try to work in that student part somehow. See if I can. And then I'll get that to you as soon as I can, hopefully tomorrow, but maybe Wednesday. I'll need it, I definitely need my Thursday morning back. And then, if I don't hear anything, I'll just move forward here. 50-minute interviews, I would like to start at 6, if that's okay. It was 6 to 6:50, take 10-minute break. Well, actually start at 6:10, probably, do you have your